So, helping lean startups, part 3. The idea is this fund for helping lean startups by providing them the legal assistance they need at no cost to them, with the understanding that the fund itself holds the IP, and the fund is located within a certain region, so indirectly that region is holding the IP. Until that time that the individual can basically buy the IP back at an affordable rate. So, and that's a very simplistic view, but there'll be more detail to it that will be worked out by the fund. But one thing is, the fund is not spending its capital. What it's doing is leveraging its capital for investments and then using the return to fund the account and to fund IP for early stage startup development. Because as I mentioned before, if 75% of the intangible assets is IP, or part of his IP, but other is intangibles, then we need to provide a method for early stage startups to basically protect that IP. And if we provide that method for them to do it, that what you're going to see is a lot more companies springing up, because all of a sudden they're not basically keeping their lips sealed because they're too afraid that they're going to lose their intellectual property. So as a result, what you'll have in a community is, instead of just having some wind turbines out in the ocean, which each represents a startup, what you'll have is startups growing up all over. And the question is, out of all these startups growing up in the early stage, could 100 of them become $100 million companies in the next 10 years? And I think so. If we had thousands of startups popping up all over the place, or at least the IP is there for invention and other things, then I think all likelihood is that we would meet that goal. So it becomes a startup's win, it becomes a win for investors, and it becomes, more importantly, a win for the community. Whether it's Florida, whether it's Tampa, whether it's Kuala Lumpur, no matter where it is, it becomes a win. It's a win-win for everyone. What happens then, it becomes a vehicle, the simple fund that's only there to protect and provide assistance with IP and legal aspects, becomes a vehicle to take us to the moon, and a vehicle that will allow us to achieve our dreams. Who will run this fund? Good question. Well, I think the team's already in place, and they would be pulled from the fund investors. So whoever invested in the fund would ultimately have IP. How do they make money out of this? Well, what I envision, my early idea, is that the individual can buy the full rights back for themselves for 1,000% return, or 900% return. So let me, that sounds a lot, but it really isn't if you think in the scope of things. So let's say the legal cost for a patent is $10,000. So for $100,000, I can get full rights to my patent. Now, the main thing for me is I just want to know my patent is safe. And the thing is that's important is, if anyone challenges that patent, you have a $30 million fund standing behind it, because ultimately if they're challenging that patent, then that fund's about to lose money, because if they win, the fund is out of their money. Does that make sense? So the amount of money that is spent in protecting and developing this IP is 900% return is paid back. Why 900%? Because I imagine most of the IP and most of the stuff in there will not amount to it. So the ones that do amount to something has to pay for the ones that don't. And as a person who has potential IP, I would not mind not giving away, but having a 600-pound gorilla behind me protecting my IP. Make sense? So these are the ones moving and bringing a solution for us, entrepreneurs, and they're the ones with the wisdom and the ability to move forward. So just to recap, we're talking, the goal is 100 startups turn into $100 million businesses by 2020. It's a $10 billion ROI for communities. It's super simple. I mean, there is nothing that ultimately can cause a hiccup, and unless there is, please tell me, because I don't see it. So tell me what you think. And I'm going to talk next on how we're going to achieve and build this fund.